Hi everyone, my name is Katie, and today I'm going to talk about AI art. Before I get into this, the illustration that I'm making is based off some AI generated art that I made myself. Here is the AI art I'm basing my illustration off of, which I will talk more about later. So basically what AI art is that you type in a description and out comes the art. The program basically looks at a giant catalog of art and creates something new from it. Some of the more popular ones at the moment are Midjourney, which is the one I'm currently using, and DALL-E. So from what I'm hearing is that there's a lot of concerns and general opinions about AI art, one of which is that it's taking artists' jobs. I've heard this many times, and that some people say it will affect people selling art at lower prices, because instead of going to someone to find a cheap artist, they could just type in a description and try to get what they want. Now, I don't think all artists will lose their jobs. There is more to creating art than just the end result of art. There's the process of ideation, communicating with the client, and also the ability to edit existing art pieces or even polishing it to the client's preference. Not to mention that there are still other fields of art that need a human touch, such as story making, fleshing out characters, and even 3D modeling or making physical paintings. I can see how there may be an increase in art made for print-on-demand sites, kind of like Redbubble. If you sell on these kind of platforms, then yeah, I can see how it's going to saturate the environment more. I also see how it's going to affect the selling of stock photos. Because instead of someone going to a site and looking for a specific image, now you can just type in what you want and get a pretty close result. However, I don't think that's going to replace it completely, because the type of images generated by Midjourney and maybe DALL-E, I don't know for sure, are still a bit of a lower quality. So it's not going to completely get rid of stock photos, but there's a chance it could affect its sales. Honestly, I can see people using it just to make a quick profit, but I know not everyone is going to use AI-generated art this way. Another thing that I see people talk about is, can it be used commercially, or can it be copyrighted? In my research, it seems like because a person didn't make the art itself, it can't be copyrighted. Much like how if you trained a dog to make a piece of artwork, the dog made the artwork, so if you wanted to do something with that art, like copyright it for some reason, then you wouldn't be able to because you didn't make the art, the dog did. Even though you trained the dog to do it, you yourself didn't make it, because only humans can own copyrights. So even though someone made the program itself, because the program made the art, it means no one owns the copyright. It's kind of weird, because I feel like if someone were to own the copyright, it would be the people who made the program itself. But at the moment, it seems like AI-generated art can't be copyrighted. However, it can be used commercially. And even though there's been lots of discussion about the pros and cons to AI art, I've been testing and using it for the past month, and honestly, I'm more excited about it. Yes, I know I've talked about the concerns about stealing jobs and the use of copyright and stuff, but at the end of the day, I see it just as a tool. Much like how Photoshop is a tool I use to make art, AI-generated art can also be used as a tool to help in the earlier stages of illustration, by helping generate color palettes, values, maybe help with a bit with the concept and ideation part, things like that. At least that's how I'm using it with this illustration. I basically asked the AI Midjourney to give me a fairy girl with a pastel color palette, and it gave me this. From these funky images, I saw shapes and forms and created something of my own. Like I said, I see AI art as a tool for us to help make new art. It can help give you images to work from if you want to study without stepping on other people's copyrighted work, and it could also help you save time in making textures. I decided to experiment with creating a gold texture, and I've got a few cool results that I may use in other pieces of artwork in the future. It's also, I think, a good tool if you want to practice your values and shapes, because you can also look at these abstracted pieces of work or just pieces of stuff that the AI made, and you can try to imagine what they are in your head and draw from that. So it could be used as a creative exercise as well. So for artists ourselves, it can be a good tool for reference gathering, studying, and even helping out with ideation. So just to demonstrate here, I have Discord and I'm basically talking to the Midjourney bot. And what I'm going to do is just type in /imagine, and then let's say a blueberry dragon sitting on a leaf, just something random. And we'll just say in a realistic style, and then see what happens. Basically, it's going to take some time to generate 4 pictures, as you can see like right here. And then from these 4 pictures, I can either upscale them from like 1, 2, 3, 4, or I can make variations from these. So if we give it a few minutes, it will generate some new images for us. It does take some time. I may speed up this footage, just depending on how long it takes, but you can even see it kind of render out right here. Okay, so now that it's done, we can view these different images. So some of them just look like little lumps of mulberries or blueberries. So as you can see, it generated some images. Some of them just look like little lumps of berry, while others you can see a dragon coming from them. And so what I'm going to do is basically type in this again. But instead of a realistic style, let's say we'll say Alphonse Mucha, Craig Mullins, ArtStation style. Just because those are some of the ones that I like to use. We'll see what happens. All I can hear is my little brother banging on something downstairs. Oh, the joys of siblings. But anyway, this is almost rendered out. As you can see from these different artists right here, it created very different results. Ooh, I like these results a lot better. I love the color combination of this one. I also love how this one looks. It's kind of like a bird in a forest or wooded area. Basically, I think these right here are great for just creating new ideas. To me, these look like little bluebirds or like a fantasy bird right here. And I love these color combinations. Oh, I already said that. But anyway, from here, let's say I want to make variations of, let's say number 3. So 1, 2, 3, variations of 3. And then it will give me 4 more pictures based off this one right here. So yeah, that's basically what Midjourney and AI art is. You type in something and it gives you some crazy result. And depending on what you write or how detailed you are, the results will vary. For me, the best way to use this is to know what kind of style you want from it. It helps if you know some art history or you have some famous artists in mind. Just know that if you use AI, it won't give you the image that you're imagining in your head. It'll basically show similar likenesses that you describe, but you want to experiment with different phrases and words. I can easily see a new job coming from this, which is to have a person who could basically tweak the descriptions and basically create AI generated art you want. So who knows, I think that's something to at least look into. So yeah, honestly, I could keep clicking and making more and more pictures, but I think I will stop the demonstration right here. If you feel like you're having a problem competing with AI art, then maybe the problem is in the concept rather than the skill. An AI may be good at stylizing and rendering, but we can add story to our work. We can make a cohesive scene that engages the viewers in a way that AI struggles with. So instead of seeing how AI is taking your commissions, think of it this way. If you do portrait commissions, then you know that anyone can pull out their phones or cameras and simply take a picture of themselves. But the reason that portrait commissions are still popular is that people love art styles and the human touch that we can create with our work. A photo can make an exact replica of a person, but an artist can take that person and stylize and focus in on features that makes the end result unique. I'm not trying to bash on photographers, it takes a lot of time and effort to learn how to take good pictures. What I'm saying is that AI art is now akin to other forms of art. It won't completely replace your art, it just has created a new form of tool to work with. Another topic I recently heard about is that someone submitted an AI-generated art picture and won a contest. Honestly, I don't know all the details about this. I believe the judges didn't know about the existence of AI art and thought that someone just made this on their own. Don't quote me on this, I don't know for sure. But I wanted to talk about the use of AI arts in contests. Again, looking at my photography to art analogy, it feels like there should be its own category for this kind of art. In a contest, it's normal to have a photography category, a painting category, and so on. Since AI art is still relatively new, it doesn't have its own category yet, so people are viewing it as though it really is a painting or some man-made thing. By man-made, I mean like drawn out by a person. I feel like we're going to see more of these kinds of instances where people are thinking AI art was made and drawn specifically by a person, but the more popular AI art becomes, the more likely we are going to see contests and people recognizing it as its own medium. So at the moment, it's like a strange category, like a strange thing that's going on right now, but in the future, people are going to get used to it. I think things are going to calm down a bit, and if there's ever an instance where there's more contests in the future, there's probably going to be its own category. At least that's what I think. Another thing I wanted to talk about was this artwork itself. So I went to Midjourney, I typed in fairy, I can't remember what I exactly typed in, but it was something along the lines of pastel fairy in the style of Alphonse Mucha, ArtStation, and a few other things that I can't remember off the top of my head. But these two pictures were generated, and before starting my actual picture, I basically painted over the AI art to try to find some shapes and play around with the values of it. Honestly, this was a pretty good way to study the values of the art itself, because I don't usually use these kind of colors in a picture. So like painting over it and kind of fixing the proportions myself kind of helped me get into the right headspace of the kind of work that I was looking towards. Now for the actual picture, I basically took the background of the AI generated art and I ended up drawing the girl myself. It was kind of fun interpreting the different shapes and colors from the AI art and tried making my own art from it. I think it's a good exercise, at least to play around with, and it helped give me new ideas that I wouldn't usually think of, such as this multiple colored background that you see here that has a whole bunch of little colors inside it. And then the darker colors at the bottom made me think of like a flower bushes or roses, which I ended up adding in later on in the picture. So when you are looking at the earlier stages of this picture, the little AI generated art you see in the top left corner is actually the paint over version that I did, because the original face looked a lot more strange. Granted, Midjourney has gotten a lot better at rendering out faces from the time that I rendered these out, so if I were to do the same description again, I feel like Midjourney would end up giving me better art with better faces right now. Honestly, I think that you guys should just play around with AI generated art yourself and get a feel for what you think of it. It's pretty fun to like mess around with and try to think of random phrases and make new art from that. So like I said, in the earlier stages, I'm basically referencing the values and colors from the AI art into my work. For this picture, I also wanted to focus a lot more on rendering out the girl herself. Usually I end up stopping around the 5-hour mark, but for this picture I decided to go on a little further and not really care about how long the artwork takes, but to just keep working on it until I feel satisfied with the result. Which honestly I think really helps out in the end, because I have a tendency to try to finish something as fast as I can and then move on to the next thing. But I'm trying to slow down in my art making process and work on the details, because I think that's what I lack most in. Because there's many times where I tend to get tired or bored of a picture around the 5 or 6 hour mark, and at that point I usually just say the artwork's done, but for this one I decided to just take a break, come back to it later, and then end up working more on the details itself. I think because of that, the end result turned out a lot more cleaner than my other pieces, which I am going to try to do more of in the future. AI art wasn't the only thing I referenced in this picture. For her little, what's it called, handkerchief thing on her head? Yeah, I think it's a handkerchief. But in the earlier versions, it's just kind of like floating squarely on her head. So I ended up looking at some actual references of people wearing like a handkerchief on their head to see how it falls on them. I also wanted to make this picture a lot more stylized. Instead of focusing on like a more realistic thing, I wanted to give her some really big sparkly eyes, a lot more childlike features, something that is not as much realistic, but more playful, given that the fact that the color scheme and fairies itself, it's a pretty playful thing to work with. I ended up going back and forth a lot with the pose of her hand. Like at first it was just on her side, kind of referencing how the AI generated art looked, but then I realized it didn't feel as natural, so I wanted her to have her arm bent as if she were holding some flowers while she was walking by. The end result definitely has a more surreal look to it, given the very colorful background, and I wanted to capture that dreamlike kind of feel. So I think used wisely, AI art can be a very beneficial tool for us. It's not perfect, but it's not going anywhere or disappearing anytime soon. So at the very least, I think us artists should be educated about the subject. Some things that I wish I changed were maybe her pose itself. Like, it's nice, it's like a nice portrait pose, but it still seemed a little stiff to me in the end. I wish I did more thumbnails with this. I kind of just dove headfirst into the subject, but that is something to keep in mind for my next picture. I am very surprised that my parakeets have been quiet this whole time. Honestly, I think it's because I decided to record later in the day, and looking at them, they're just taking little naps right now. So hopefully in the future I can plan these videos ahead of time and try to find times, like I said, that work for my parakeets. Because they were pretty loud in my last video, so I am trying to work on that. So at the very least, I am glad that the audio should be good in this video. So honestly, this AI generated stuff can vary depending on how you use it. For artists, I know there's many people who are seeing it only as a sad thing that's taking our jobs away, but I can also see it as a good tool for us to use in our future artworks. My final thoughts are AI generated art can be a good tool for us artists, but it's something that we should educate ourselves on, seeing how it's not going anywhere, and the fact that we're probably going to see it more in the future. I'd like to know more about what you guys think of AI art. Have you tried it at all? What are your thoughts? This is more of a newer topic that I'm seeing a lot more people talk about, so I wanted to put in my 2 cents and also see what you guys think. Anyway, here is the end result. I hope you guys enjoy watching this process and listening to me talk about this, so I hope you guys have a good day.